Informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's a pilot as well. And Barb Schlinker and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air your real estate voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site. That is barbhasthebuyers.com. Or go ahead and search Barb. You'll find her on most popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio and others. Barb, what are we talking about today?
Well, Richard, it's really interesting how there's a lot of people out there talking about doom and gloom in the real estate market. It is a little bit slower, but there are still people buying homes. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is when is the best time of year to sell a house in Colorado. We'll go into some data of different areas along the Front Range, just so you can kind of get an idea what's happening. And I think we're seeing some light begin to appear at the end of the tunnel. And then the next topic is going to be what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale in Colorado. I get that question every week from my clients, and it's a good question and it's very customized to you. Some people are 100% ready. Most people I would say are not. And that's part of our services. We help you get ready, but I'll give you some tips that you could do on your own without anybody coming over. And then the third topic kind of fits in with it, but what we're going to talk about is what to fix and what not to fix to get your house ready for sale. That's a question that's probably one of the more common ones that we get. Should I do this? Should I do that? And some ideas are not so great, like the buyer won't pay for it. A big example, and I'm probably going to make a few people mad here, is solar. Adding solar to your house, it really doesn't add to the value. I hate to say it. I know a lot of solar salespeople are not going to want to hear that. However, if you look at similar sales around the area, or even homes that are on the market with a solar system versus those without a solar system, it's not really moving the bar, and it has to be fully paid off at closing. So if you have somebody trying to sell you a solar system and you're thinking of selling, I would think twice, because you're just not going to get a good ROI. Richard, have you got any pitches like that to put solar on your house?
Every now and then I would say it's kind of tapered off a little bit. I think the newness and how exciting it was to some people and how good it made them feel has kind of waned a little bit. But yeah, I get those, I don't know, probably once every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, it cost a good 35 to $50,000. And if you take your electric bill and divide it by that amount of time, it's going to take a long time for it to pay off. So if you plan to stay for a long time, it's great. But at the end of the day, the system still has to be repaired, maintained. It adds an extra layer of work if you have a composite shingle roof and you've got those panels up on the roof. You actually have to bring in a solar company if you get hit by hail, take those off first, then do the roof, then put them back on. So it adds more cost to doing having to replace roofs, which people probably have to do that in this climate more often than many others. And the last topic we're going to cover is how to choose the best real estate agent for selling or buying a house. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, now that the summer real estate season has peaked, and you've been told that prices vary according to different locations up and down the Front Range, do you think that the real estate market will bounce back with the change this year? And if it does, when is going to be the best time to sell your home here in Colorado?
Well, Richard, the peaking of the market tends to happen in along the Front Range for the most part between March, and it'll go all the way through September. So that's when we see most people in the mode of moving, because the school year is ending. There's a lot of different reasons. A lot of military transfers happen around that time. So that is probably prime time to sell your house. However, we do sell homes year round. And one of the benefits of being on the market when the market has softened up a little bit or when there aren't as many homes on the market is you don't have as much competition. So I wouldn't worry too much about the timing of it. I would just make it work for your schedule. And you right now with the average days on market kind of expanding out to over 3 months in most areas, you really want to kind of build that into your schedule to go, okay, if I go in the market, it's going to take 3 months to sell. Could be quicker. We do get offers right away on some properties. And then from contract to close, it's another month. So I definitely would plan ahead and just be ready when it happens. Now is a pretty good time. The rates are kind of ticking down just a little bit. We went up to as high as 7.25 in the last few weeks, and now they're coming back down. And anytime you see the rates dip down, more buyers enter the market. But one thing that really surprised me when I was looking at the data today was that we've kind of bottomed out in the pricing. I mean, we ended 2024 with higher prices than we had at the beginning of 2024. However, there was a time frame when the prices were a little bit higher, which was spring through summer. So I believe that what we're seeing right now is we kind of bottomed out and the prices are heading back up again. And that's one of the biggest problems of why a lot of buyers are sitting on the sideline right now is the affordability factor. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal this week that mentioned that if you go back to 2012, you could buy a house if your income was about 39,000. Now you need to earn over 100 to 15 to $120,000 as a household income to qualify for a home. So that takes a lot of buyers off the table unless they have creative ideas, such as if they can get the mortgage broker to knock down the interest rate for a certain period of time, or they can negotiate some of the closing costs that the seller pays to buy down the interest rate. And those are great ideas that a lot of people are using right now. Interest rates absolutely impact price, but not as much as you would think. Like, if you listen to the doom and gloom videos that I watch every once in a while on YouTube, they're like, the sky is falling, the market's crashing, but the data just doesn't play out. And Realtor.com named this market as being proposed to be the hottest market for resale in the country for 2025. So that's good news, but it's always good to price your home what I call realistically versus optimistically. And you'll be able to tell if you miss the price point from the moment you go on the market based on the volume of interest and showings. Right now, we're seeing a little bit higher amount of sales than we had the year before. And the rates are coming back down into the low sevens for conventional, mid sixes though for VA and FHA. So if you can get a mortgage broker to take 1% off the rate, now we're in the mid fives. Now it's starting to be affordable. So be ready as a buyer to negotiate. Prices tend to go higher when the rates drop. So if you find a home right now that fits that criteria, I would not wait for the prices to correct even more because I just don't think it's going to happen in this market. I could be wrong, but I'm just telling you what I'm seeing on the statistical data. And my resource updates that data daily, not monthly. Right now, we're seeing more available homes on the market than we have in the previous year by 31%. Sales are pretty consistent with what we saw in 2023, but I'm seeing the prices head back up and the days on market are kind of about the same. So plan on 3 or 4 months to get a home sold and then make the schedule work for you. I know homes look a lot prettier in the summer when the yard is green and all that, but there are some homes that look fabulous in the winter as well. Buyers are always looking for homes. I'm always getting offers on my listings year round. So it's all about choosing the right agent that makes sure it's presented properly on the market so you are the best home on the market. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. It's called Your Real Estate Voice. And what we're talking about is what is the best time to sell a home? And when we come back, we're going to kick around some other ideas like how does this new National Association of Realtors settlement affect negotiations with buyers? There have been some changes. It's very interesting. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So, Barb, we're discussing when is the best time to sell a house in Colorado. What are the pricing trends right now? And what do you expect to happen through the rest of the year, especially the summer?
Well, real estate's very local. It's very local in terms of neighborhoods sometimes. It's local in terms of geographic areas. There's a lot of different factors that play into whether or not a home would be more desirable or not. And it depends on a lot of things. It depends on price. There are some homes that aren't that pretty, that if they're priced right, they're going to be the hottest home on the market. There are some homes that are offering to assume their VA loan with a low interest rate. Those tend to be the hottest homes on the market. And I get the question all the time, if you are a veteran, you let somebody assume your VA loan, what if they don't make a payment? Does that hit my credit? The answer is no. They start reporting credit to the assuming buyer when that happens. However, if they ever foreclose, you could lose a little bit of your VA eligibility until any deficit is paid back. So we're becoming an expert on that because we're seeing more and more of it. So if you have questions about it, give me a call, 719-301-3900. The other thing that I'm finding really interesting right now is that when buyers are making an offer, what has changed as a result of the National Association of Realtors settlement is the buyer's agent commission is negotiable. So I just tell the agents, because they always call and go, well, is your seller going to pay some or some of the commission on the buyer's agent? And I'll just tell them, it depends on the offer. Bring me the offer. Sometimes the sellers agree to pay whatever they ask for, and sometimes it's a negotiating point. It does depend on the offer. Now, the buyer's agent might have an agreement already with the buyer as far as who's going to pay their fee. My partner actually just made an offer on a property this past week, and he'd already kind of predetermined with the buyer how much he would be paid if the seller did not pay. And he ended up getting more than what he was planning to be paid. And it was all paid by the seller. So it really depends on the seller's motivation. And I tell sellers just to, plan for it as one of their closing costs, but know that it can be a negotiable point, and it absolutely depends on the nature and the scope and the quality of the offer that they get on the house. So if you are thinking of making a move, give me a call. We love to help people get their homes ready for sale. We'll give you tips on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale, give you an idea what your home will sell for. We'll show you all the buyers that we have looking for a home like yours, as well as our cash buyers. So give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about what to do and what not to do when you're getting your Colorado home ready for sale. Stay tuned for that. There's one.
I did all this research and then I skipped it.
You know what? I have to say I'm a kindred spirit because I do that all of the time on my show. I I mean, especially I had a whole show last night and then this morning I wake up and I've got trans getting kicked out of the military and all kinds of other things and it's like, okay, well, you got to
You
talk
got to
about
go with the flow. I
yeah,
think
exactly.
that the Mr. President's going very fast on all
I
of his
can't
stuff.
believe it. I mean, I honestly, I expected him to be quicker, but there is no way that I thought he was going to be this quick.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm excited.
Which tells me, honestly, that tells me that he really had to have assumed that this was going to happen and that he's had people working on all of these things for a while. Because you can't just go in and start, this quickly, changing the military, changing the border, all of this stuff.
Well, he's running it like a business, which is
He
really
is, right? The military's got to be, I mean, I'm hoping that the military is.
I wonder how many, I think it was over 8,000 people that were kicked out of the service because they wouldn't take the COVID shot.
Yep. And I think they're all getting back in.
Are they really? I heard only a few, but maybe it was fake news. You
I don't
know,
know. I mean, what I saw this morning was that there were going to be, I don't have it in front of me, 5,000 trans out and then maybe another bunch of trans out, but that they expected that there would be about 8,000 back who had been kicked out. But I mean,
great,
that's if everybody who was kicked out wants to come back. So that's
right.
part of
And
it.
they're going to restore their pay and all that.
Yeah, my understanding.
That's amazing. I
That
think,
case is, yeah. And I don't know how that could do anything but help morale. Um, it just, it is so crazy. I mean, I talked to my daughter and some other people. I'm like, how the hell did we end up this off of track?
yeah, yeah, it's true.
4 years.
4 years. I was just reading an article before we came on. So Christy Nome is in New York and she went out with some of the people who were making ice raids. And so there's an article about that. But the article had to mention that Christie was wearing a gold Rolex watch and I'm like, you know what? I don't know where she got it. I don't know how she affords it. I really just don't care. But the truth is, I really don't care. She's out there I never saw Alejandro Mayorkas out there with ice people making raids.
No, no, I think yeah, honestly, I think what's going to happen is people are going to quit listening to those kind of news feeds, you know,
Oh, I think you're right. I mean, go ask, what's his name? God, the jerk from CNN
the
who
one from CNA. Did they let him go?
apparently he's leaving himself, which I
Oh,
think they may have wanted that to happen because they were going to give him like a midnight show. He's like, I
yeah,
don't want to do that. I'm like, you know what? Then you shouldn't. I mean, I think these people in the article talking about it said, well, they, are looking to have more fair coverage of President Trump. Oh, that's just what was on their hearts and minds, as opposed to, oh, what? Trying to be completely out of touch. And now you're starting to realize that it's hurting your ratings and everything else. Huh? How about that?
yeah. I mean, they're just an echo chamber of their own theories, I think.
I think it is. And I think, you know what? I don't think they had any clue just exactly how out of touch they were. And now they're starting two things. Now they're starting to realize it. And now the average person who really couldn't stand what was going on under Biden now feels much more comfortable speaking out than, it was before.
Yeah.
So I think people are in for a rude awakening because they've thought, well, everybody must think like me because, they don't ever say anything. Well, you know what? They didn't want to get their car keyed or all this other crap. But just because that does not mean that they agreed with you. All right, I got a new time. Now this is kind of weird, Barb. So on the script I have here, on number 2, I've got all the notes and everything, but it does not have like an intro to it. So should I just add one?
Yeah, just make one up.
All right. Okay, I'm ready to go. How
It
about you?
doesn't have to be scripted at all.
No,
The
you wouldn't. You can,
conversation is actually probably more intriguing than my silly little outline.
no. I like your outline, but you wouldn't even need to have an outline, honestly, when you come in here. So I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, as we talk about the real estate market right now, let's talk a little bit about what to do and what not to do when you're preparing your Colorado home for sale.
Yeah, I would say, Richard, that most people don't live in their home the same way they would present it to the market. It's just normal life. You get busy, you come in the house, you drop stuff and on kitchen counter. You should see my office. It's a mess. I try to keep it neat and tidy, but it just it doesn't happen. Same with the kitchen counter. That's kind of ground zero. Those three spaces, kitchen counter, desk, and laundry room, especially since it comes in from the garage, are collection points of stuff. And some people just get used to it. They don't really pay any attention to it. And it doesn't matter if you're not showing your house to somebody. But the problem is your competition when you're selling your home are homes that look like models. So they have to look beautiful. And so that's part of what we do is we'll walk through and help people get their homes ready so that it looks gorgeous online, because we know the first showing is online. And if the buyers don't like what they see on the internet, they are not even going to ask to come and look at it. That's just how it is. That is your first line of attraction online. So you really have to get that right. And we spend a lot of time and effort. I have a lot of staff that looks at that. So we look at the pictures. We can digitally extract just about anything, including trucks and cars and people and trash cans and stuff on the counter and pretty much you name it. We've emptied out laundry rooms except for the washer and dryer. But we're doing that because we want to attract buyers to want to come and see the home. When they show up, if there's a few little bits of clutter laying around, they're not going to remember. But some of the things are really distracting in a picture. Things like the little rugs, on the floor in the kitchen or the bathrooms. Any stuff on the kitchen counter really is distracting. Any overwhelm of furniture and decoration sometimes can be very, very distracting for a buyer because you want them to visualize themselves living in the home. So it has to be a lot more austere or plain than how you would normally live. And usually, when our clients get done with the staging consult, they'll tell me, it doesn't look like anybody lives here. Why are we doing this? And I'm like, just trust me, it's gonna be the thing that gets people to want to come and see your home. So some of the things that you need to do up front, first of all, is pick a selling strategy. Not every home is going to go on the market with a target of being a pretty home, right? There are some that need work, okay? So if you're planning on selling a home as is, you're not going to do any upgrades to it, but it needs work, there is a price for that. It's not the same price as the full retail value. The studies from the National Association of Realtors indicate that 40% of buyers will pass by on a home that appears to need work or look like it needs work when they're looking at it online. And some of the things stand out that may not be obvious to the naked eye. Like if the carpet is older, you can see the traffic areas. It really comes out in a camera. Sometimes the buyers are like, it needs carpet. I don't have the extra resources to put it in. I'm going to pivot to this other home or go to a new home or something like that. So you have to consider a lot of things. You have to consider what's most important to you. Is it price? Is it timing? Is it who buys the house? I've actually had people say that to me. What's most important? They say, I just want a nice family to buy our home. That's great. Okay. Is it you just want to get it sold fast and not have to fix anything? So we would make adjustments to the asking price according to what that answer is. And it's really critical for each home seller, absolutely, to have really good knowledge to make the best informed decision about how to prepare the home for sale, how to price it right, and it really is the agent's job to promote it properly. But the seller's involved with that too. I mean, if there's a problem with the picture that they don't like or they want removed, they should speak up and say, don't be shy. Number two is don't just guess on agents. That's probably what most people do is when they select an agent, they're like, oh, I know so-and-so. She was great when she sold my home. I liked her, which there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But it's probably not a bad idea to talk to a couple of different agents and just compare. But the question is, what is the criteria? So I would say most people probably don't have the experience of interviewing people. Have you done that very much, Richard, in your career?
No, not really. I think you're exactly right. I mean, when I was a trial attorney, I did, but other than that, there's not many times that you interview somebody with an eye toward hiring them or something like that.
Right. And my personality, and probably yours too, I like everybody. I want to hire all of them. So I'm not as tough when it comes to the hiring process. Oftentimes it is the first person that I talk to that I will connect with. But I've made some mistakes in the past by making those decisions, especially when it comes to big ticket items. So I think it's really, really important to slow down. There's no rush. And if somebody tries to push you into a contract, honestly, I wouldn't do it. I would just say, oh, we're going to think about it, because people do want to think about it and they would like to compare and contrast. So one of the things that we offer for people, if they are planning on talking to several different agents, is they can go on my website, barbhasthebuyers.com, and actually pull down some interview questions for real estate agents. Some of these questions they are not going to like how many homes have you sold? How many homes have you sold around here? Some of those questions make them uncomfortable. What's the days on the market? What's your average days on the market? Those kind of questions, if they don't know the answer, that's a problem, or so but it's up to you at the end of the day. And I want you to feel comfortable because something like this, you're letting somebody handle one of your largest assets. So we actually have a free agent selection guide that you can download or just contact us to get it from our website. And that will help you kind of ask the right questions when it's time to interview. Tip number three is clean, clean, clean. Now, you want to kind of time this to right before maybe photo date that you want to get that done. A lot of people ask me about cleaning the windows, and it's kind of funny. It really doesn't, if windows have a little bit of, raindrops or something on them, it may not show up in the photos that much, but it could be on your list. Flooring is a big deal. It needs to be fresh. It needs to be clean. It needs to look like it has no deferred maintenance. Same with kitchens and baths, appliances. Pick up your area rugs, especially for photo day. I know a lot of people have dogs and they kind of, if there's a hard surface floor, they'll slip around. So, it's okay just for photo day to pick them up and then you can put them back down. The buyer's not going to remember when they come and look at the home. Little things like door hardware, any high traffic areas. Like I notice in our kitchen, there's certain spots that I'm always cleaning, like the handles on the refrigerator, cabinets that get open pretty often. So you really want to make sure all these things are clean and in great working odor. And along those lines with cleaning, let me say that again, are clean and working, there. Try it one more time. Clean and in great working order. Now, along those lines with the cleaning, be very, very careful about odors. People get used to the smells within their home and they don't notice it so much. Things like pet smells, like dog and cat smells, cooking odors, those can really turn off a buyer. So you want to be very, very careful about what kind of cooking that you're doing right before you're planning to do showings. Now, I know you have to live there and it could be very interesting, but just make sure all the trash is taken out. Look at the windows, screens, look at the light fixtures. Everything has to be clean. Now, this is a common question I get all the time about, should I take all of my family photos down? And the answer is, I don't think so. But there are some people that will completely cover a wall with their whole life story all the way down the hallway. It doesn't photograph well. It is distracting to the buyer, right? So I would say you can put a small grouping of your family. There's nothing wrong with that. But I've just seen people just overwhelm the room with their world, right? Make sure clutter is removed from the tabletops, countertops, bathroom counters, kitchen counters, even coffee tables. A lot of people like to use those little doily things. Those just don't photograph well. Don't set the table, clear it all off, maybe have one flower in the middle, and that's about it. Nothing too fancy. And also open up the blinds and make sure all the light, let the outside come in. Homes photograph a lot better if you actually have all the curtains and all the blinds open and people get a feel of what the environment looks like. If you have heavy, dark bedding, especially in the master, I would change that out with something just light and fresh and airy. Also, window coverings. I see there was a trend for a while where people were getting these really very expensive, heavy, upholstered type window coverings, which have gone a little bit out of style, but they're also heavy, like they overwhelm the room. So if you can just replace that with some shears, if it doesn't involve too much work, that might be a good idea. If not, we can digitally take care of that. And of course, clutter is always the thing. Now, we do include a staging console with our listings. And so we bring in a professional interior designer that will look at your room, look at your house, whether you're planning to show it while you're living there or vacate the home and we put furniture in. Those are the choices, as well as digital staging. So we have all these different options for you. And again, the idea is to motivate the buyer to want to come see your home. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale. And when we come back, we're going to cover the rest of those tips. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Remember, you can listen to replays of the entire show anytime on all the major podcast platforms and YouTube as well. Just search YouTube for Barb Schlinker. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719 301 3900. Barb, we're talking about what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale. Give us some more tips.
Well, pricing is your decision. There are some agents that'll come in there and say, oh, your house is worth $5 million, sign right here, right? And they might not know, or they may know that it probably won't work. So get some education. We actually show up with all kinds of information for our sellers so they can make an informed decision. Every seller wants the most money. I get that completely. But at the end of the day, it's what a buyer's willing to pay. And before you sign a contract with a realtor, really look at their marketing strategy because that's an important part of the sales process. Does your agent have a team? Do they know how to negotiate some of those things? And hire an agent that knows how to get your house ready for sale. That's pretty important. There's a lot of different things that get criticized, scrutinized as buyers are looking at homes. And if they haven't sold very many homes, they may not see that at all. So it's important to hire an agent that actually gives you certainty of the sale as well. Richard, did you know that between 68 and 80% of the buyers out there have a house to sell, and most agents don't have any kind of solution for their dilemma? Did you know that?
I did not know that. That is a huge problem. If you only want to help somebody buy a home, but they have to sell a home, you don't know what to do about that. I got a suggestion. Call the woman you're talking to and you're listening to, Barb Schlinker, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Radio. I mean, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty.
Well,
It should
thank
be
you. And
that should be radio. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Radio. I'm sorry. We're gonna cut all that out, right?
I like that idea.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, we have solutions. Like we just had somebody make an offer contingent on their home selling that wasn't even on the market. And the seller was like, nah, I don't think so. We really need to sell sooner rather than later. And, they just waited a few more weeks and got a really good offer. And we offered a solution. We actually have cash buyers that could have bought their home and they could have bought it without a sale contingency. but I got rejected. They completely rejected my proposal. And now that buyer didn't get the house. So I think it's really important that you hire somebody that knows how to help everybody to get it to the finish line. So if you are thinking of moving, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Now, remember, you're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. And if you're thinking of selling your home, you want to get the very most amount of money. It is probably one of your biggest investments. Call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about what to fix and what not to fix when you're selling your Colorado home. There you are.
Can you squeeze that one in, DJ?
He's a pro, my God. Ugh. If he just takes my mistakes out, it'll probably fit on its own.
Look at this cute graphic that he created. Isn't it cute? Griff did that.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's very cute.
I bought all these, graphic arts programs because I had various projects and I needed something here and something there. And I thought, well, I'll use this somewhere. And the reality is I never quite get around to using any of them. I think I'm better at, doing that sort of thing than I really am.
Oh, I'm terrible at it. I know it now. I'm not even gonna try.
I mean, I'm good at telling people what I'd like, and then they're good at coming back and saying, how about this? And I'm good at saying, yeah, that looks good. But okay, let me get a new clock here. I'm good when you're ready. I'm ready, everybody.
I'm ready.
David? Oh, he's good. Okay. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. It does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, if someone is thinking of selling their home, what are some of the top things that a home sellers, I'm sorry, what are some, I got caught up there, 3, 2, 1. Barb, if someone is thinking of selling their home, what are some of the top things that a home seller should fix, and what should they not fix when they're trying to prepare their home for sale?
Well, Richard, before you go upgrading a home, I would discuss it because discuss it with a professional. There's some things that, let me start over. Before you upgrade a home, I definitely would ask me or discuss it with some other professional. Not all improvements are going to add to the bottom line. It really depends on the price range of the home, the market conditions, the area competition. All these factors play into it. And with some homes, it's expected. It's absolutely expected that you have, Corinthian leather in the higher price points. But then when you start getting in the lower price points, not so much. It just needs to be kind of move-in ready, right? Just fresh and in good shape, but not necessarily fancy, if that makes any sense. And we know that some buyers will eliminate homes based on the deferred maintenance that they might see in the online presentation, unless the home is priced below market. So I had a listing, it was a few years back, it was up in Woodmore, had a beautiful view lot. But it's an old home. It was definitely an 80s time warp. It needed some work. It needed siding. It had pink carpet. Everything was builder grade. But the seller priced it very aggressively. that was the biggest open house I ever had, Richard. I had 100 and I think 183 people there in about an hour and a half. It was kind of crazy. And we got somewhere around 20 offers. And of course, the offers went way up over asking price. So it is a strategy when you price very aggressively, and it can work sometimes. But the house had one thing going for it, which was a great location and great views. So the buyer that ended up getting the home actually was going to live in the home and had the skills to do their own work. So they got good bones at a great price, and then they could take their time making the improvements that they need to make. And there are different improvements that will get you a return on investment and others that will not. So right now, from my own personal experience, remodeling is really expensive unless you have the resources to do it yourself. It's spendy. And you probably won't get 100% return on your investment, but you also have to consider, would a buyer take a look at this home and think that they have to do work to buy it? If they do, they might pass. But if it's passable, like you could move in, drop your stuff, that means the flooring has to be in decent shape, and take your time upgrading whatever you want. That might be a better strategy depending on the price point. So you may not get every penny back, but a lot of people kind of mix up remodeling with deferred maintenance. So if something's broken, not working, tired, destroyed, things like bad flooring, all that kind of stuff is enough for a buyer to say, forget it, I don't want to do that, right? Especially flooring. For some reason, flooring is just one of those things that if we have that handled, buyers are okay with other issues with the house. If it's obvious deferred maintenance, sometimes the inexpensive repair can go a long way. I had one house that we had on the market that had very dramatic paint. I think I've talked about this a bunch of times, where the owner let somebody move in and paint both the cabinets in the master and the kitchen sparkle black. There was all kinds of other creative colors in the home, very poor quality painting. And the seller decided just to price it aggressively and not do the paint. All they did was flooring and just fix broken things. And it sold very fast because it was priced right. Now, could they have saved some money if they painted the house and fixed it up to make it perfectly show ready? Yes, but the problem is that, there's only so much you want to spend on a house, and speed was important to them. One thing that came up on the inspection is that the basement was not permitted. Now, this happens to people a lot. It's really surprising, this whole process of getting permits to do work on homes. The county kind of sort of regulates that, right? So there are certain things that you should pull a permit to do. Finished basements, anything handling gas, like water heater furnace, roof replacement, for sure anything adding to the foundation, square footage, that kind of thing. But definitely not every little detail has to be approved through the permit process. And the problem is homeowners will hire somebody to do the work, and they're assuming they're professionals and they're supposed to be pulling permits and doing what they're supposed to do. But more often than not, it doesn't happen. I don't know if the contractor's just too cheap to go down and get a permit, but if it is requiring a permit, it could cost money for the seller in the future. So in this situation, he hired somebody to finish the basement. Thought he hired a professional. The basement turned out fine. Then when the buyer comes along, they actually asked for $25,000 off the price solely because there was no permit pulled. So the seller went down and worked with the county regional building department. They actually negotiated, because they will charge triple the fees if you fail to pull a permit when you were supposed to. So they got that down a little bit, but the cost to repair that issue was under $2,000. It wasn't $25,000. So I would say that's the kind of thing that you want to fix and get ahead of if it happened. Most people don't look at their permit history, and I find that very interesting. So like if you have to replace the roof when it's time, and they're talking to somebody about selling their home, we look at the permit history and, how new is the roof? Oh, I just replaced it, 2 years ago. Well, there was no permit pulled. So now we have to go back to that contractor, get the permit pulled. And if you weren't able to reach them, then the homeowner has to do it themselves, which could be a little bit costly, not terrible, but I would get ahead of it because right now the buyers are so picky. Homes are a lot less affordable than they were 5 or 6 years ago. And you don't want them to have a reason to walk away, a dumb reason like that. Another thing is I had somebody give me guidance about flooring a number of years ago, somebody that handled a lot of properties, and he basically said, don't let the buyer get away, especially something like flooring. He says, tell me in advance if you think the flooring needs to be replaced, because when a buyer's offer comes in, if it comes in, it could be 6 to 8 more times more. The offer could be 6 or 8 more times less than the cost of actually replacing that item. So here's some things that you should be fixing. Curb appeal, things like mulch, flower beds, paint the front door, fix the broken doorbell, make it look appealing. Clutter in the living room, absolutely critical. Kitchen appliances should match and the kitchen should be decluttered. Master bathroom light fixtures and flooring need to be fresh. Master bedroom colors need to be neutral, light, and decluttered. And master closets are another area where I tend to see a lot of stuff stuffed in there, right? That is not how you want to present the home for sale. We don't typically photograph closets or garages or unfinished spaces because they don't look that great in photos, but the buyers absolutely are going to look at it. So you want it to look neat and tidy. So what my stagers have recommended is getting a closet ready to show is you take everything off the floor, maybe put shoe boxes and stuff up high, pack away the clothes that are, you're just not going to wear for the season. Also, faux paint and wallpaper, those kind of things tend to buyers don't typically like them unless they're really, really neutral. If you happen to have any wiring issues, I would take care of that if you can. You don't want any open wiring, dangle wiring. I see a lot of people that will use a extension cord in their garage to power the garage door opener. That absolutely will get tagged on an inspection. So you might as well get ahead of it, get an electrician to take care of it. And we can actually provide you a checklist on how to deal with clutter. That's usually the biggest challenge for most people. But basically, take it one room at a time, work on the closets, box away any unused clothing, everything off the floor as an example. Kitchens and baths, you want everything off the counter. And then just make 3 piles, donate, keep, store, whatever it is, get rid of, because that makes it simpler. But I know with me, with my squirrel brain personality, I tend to start one project and not finish and then start another one. You're much better off focusing one room at a time and focus on the key rooms, which are curb appeal, backyard, living room, kitchen, master bathroom, and master bedroom. You want your home to look like a model. And one of the things that we offer for our clients is we let them use our moving van for free. So this is, Richard, I'll admit, this is a big billboard for me. I love it being driven around.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Look at that thing.
Yeah, and it's pretty nice. It's a Ford 350. It's got a 14-foot moving box with a ramp, and it's really handy. People love it. Some people use it for their full move. Some people use it maybe just to uh, take some of their furniture to a consignment store or donate furniture or even throw things away. So focus on those things and make sure the home is really, really clean. My name is Barb Schlinker. We're talking about what to fix and what not to fix when you get your house ready for sale. And we'll cover a few more what not to fix when we come back. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. We do this custom for every client when we meet with them. Or you can go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, host of the program, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And you can always reach Barb at 719 301 3900. Now, remember, if you're in your car, you can't listen to the entire show. You can always catch up on it at Barb's YouTube channel. Barb has the buy. You can always catch up on Barb's YouTube channel. Barb has the buyers. Barb, what are some things that a home seller should not do to get their home ready for sale?
Well, driveway cracks or little cracks in the basement, not a problem unless it's a trip hazard. So don't worry too much about those things. There definitely are grandfathered building code issues that come up, like, some of the inspectors will come along and say, oh, well, you have to have a GFCI in every bathroom and every bedroom and everywhere. You really don't need that. So don't worry too much about it. I would look at the electrical panel. The Federal Pacific panel, typically every buyer asks for it to be replaced, and it may not need it. We've got some electricians that understand it a little bit more than the internet and can make some good recommendations. And just, try to fix things and do the job right. It's really obvious if you do just light things. Like I was showing a house not too long ago, and I think they painted and put a new carpet, but the rest of the house was kind of a mess. I mean, you open the kitchen drawer and it fell out, and it really didn't look that good. But take care of minor paint issues. Exterior paint, we have a lot of buyers in this market that are getting a VA and FHA loan. If there's any peeling paint on the outside, they will ask for it to be corrected. So I would get ahead of that. And it doesn't mean a full repaint in the house. It's just touch up of stuff that happens. Do remove heavy window coverings when it's time to do pictures. And regarding appliances, there should be a color match if you can do that. But refrigerator, washer, and dryer are not part of the real estate. So if you're going to include that with the sale, we'll put a provision in the contract to protect you that you don't have to fix it if those things fail. However, it's a nice bonus to the buyer. It actually is a gift to the buyer. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. We can help you do that customized to your home at 719 301 3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, just call Barb at 719 301 3900. Or, of course, you can visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about who do you choose to be the best real estate agent for selling and buying a house? I think you might know. Stay tuned for that. You know what? That is how instead of who. Let me do that again. I could real quickly. I carried it over to the next page and I didn't see it. 3, 2, 1. Who do you choose? I did it again. 3, 2, 1. How do you choose the best real estate agent for selling and buying a house? Plus, we'll talk about Barb's hot new listings. Stay tuned for that.
Hey, DJ, I probably won't be able to do the show next week.
I
Okay. Um, yeah, we can do a replay of even a couple weeks ago. That way it still sounds fresh.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Yay!
for you.
It's
Poor
for
you.
a business conference.
Of
Uh-huh.
course, you're working. You're working. Have you ever been to Puerto Rico? I haven't. I'm wondering if you have, Barb.
I've kind of passing through. I haven't stayed a long time, but
People say it's
really
nice. I
nice
mean,
hotel.
well, and that's what, there's so many places. I haven't been a lot of places, but I keep hearing from people who say, well, it depends. Are you in a good spot? Are you at a resort? It's incredible. Did you go to the worst part on the island? Oh my God, you're an idiot. You could have been killed and raped and murdered and held kidnapped.
Oh boy. Well, last
I
time
see
I was
that
there,
about
which was a
Jamaica
long
a
time
lot, I
ago,
guess.
we probably more than 10 years, we decided to take the excursion to ride the zip lines.
Right?
And they had one, the very last one, where you flew like Superman on your belly.
Right?
I didn't like it. I had my eyes closed. I kept trying to bail out, go, can I just, we were at zip line number, the beginning of 6. And I said, can I just walk back?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. You did 6 zip lines like in
It,
one fell swoop?
it was 7 different ones. Yeah. And the
Oh
last one
my
was
God.
lying on your belly and flying over a 700-foot canyon.
I'd never done one. And I used to be, very, very, very adventurous. And I don't know. I'm not as adventurous as I used to be, I guess.
Yeah. I got stuck on number 6. So
Well, like in the middle of it?
not in the middle. I was probably, I don't know, maybe about 10 or 15 yards from the end.
No,
And I
no,
just,
no. That counts, right? I mean, you're either on in the middle of it or you're not, and
oh,
you're
you're
not.
not.
What do they
Yeah.
do?
Um, well, they teach you turn on your back and hand over hand, but I was kind of starting to panic.
I would panic.
And he just came and got me. All right, fine.
And you know what? I'm willing to bet he has to go do that like a dozen times per day. That sounds like that could be, especially if it stopped like that, didn't make it all the way. There's probably a reason for that.
I, my son liked it. I was like, oh God.
Well, you know
Okay.
what the problem is? Probably, and this is actually a compliment, and that is you simply don't weigh enough to make it all the way across. If you weigh more like your son, you're going to get there, and it's like, hey, lady, could you have a couple more biscuits the next time you plan on coming here?
I was just dangling there and looking down, going, oh, this is not good. I knew what to do, and I tried to do my thing, and anyway. And it was a very long bus ride to get there, listening to really bad Taylor Swift disco-like music, and
Oh God,
it was miserable.
yeah,
I won't do that again.
noise canceling headphones are a must. All right, I got a new one. I'm ready to go, Barb. Let's get this damn thing done. Are you good, Barb?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, DJ's ready. 2, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the host of the program. And this is the weekly radio show that informs and it educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people choose agents that they know, like a friend, but they don't really have a system for selecting the best agent to handle one of their largest assets, that is their home. What are some ways a home seller can determine how to choose a real estate agent to sell their home and make sure they've got a great one?
Well, in 2020, I'd say the end of 2020, all the way through 2022, it was pretty easy to sell a house. There wasn't much to it. You put it on and you had a dog pile of buyers, and it was fun if you're representing somebody to sell a home. But the market definitely changed when the rates went up, which made the payments unaffordable for buyers. So buyers are fewer and much further in between. And the problem is with the increase of inventory, increase of interest rates, even though the prices are ticking up a little bit, the buyers aren't jumping on properties like they used to. And because the real estate industry has a turnover of over 80% every 5 years, many of these agents that are in the business right now have never seen a market that's softer, slower, correcting. They've never seen it, and they don't know what to do. So they look back at historic sales and go, oh, your home should sell for this much. throw it on the market and it sits there and it sits there and it sits there. Now, I'm not blaming all the agents for it. Sometimes it's the sellers insisting on a certain price, and that's okay. There's not much, but the market is going to tell you almost instantly if you didn't price it correctly based on the volume of people willing to come and take a look at the home. So in a seller's market, just to explain kind of what these terms mean, a seller's market just means that the seller has the advantage in the negotiation. So that's what we saw when the rates were 2.5%, 3%, and everything was just flying high and prices were just going up exponentially. But it was kind of this artificial thing that was created by the government artificially holding down the interest rates, and the payments were more affordable than rent. So that caused buyers to make higher and higher offers and drove the prices up over time. So that was a seller's market like we'll never see again. A buyer's market is when the buyer has the advantage. The buyer has an opportunity to negotiate more. The problem I run into personally is, I'm helping the sellers decide on what's a good price for the home. So how can we tell if we priced it right? If we're getting offers, if we're getting interest, if we're getting demand right away, we priced it right. If it's just sitting there, no requests for showings, no showings, nothing going on, it's not priced right. And the buyers are finding better, the buyers that are out there right now are finding better options. So that doesn't necessarily mean that a buyer gets a discount. So I got a phone call from an agent the other night, and he wanted to negotiate with me on the phone, which I don't like that, Richard. You know from your legal background that real estate has to be in writing, correct?
Absolutely, positively. No question about it.
Right. So he's like, well, why don't you call the seller and ask the seller if they will pay $15,000 of the buyer's closing costs? Because if he won't, we're just going to go to this other house. So just call him and ask. And I said, well, I can't, first of all, I can't speak for the seller and what they will or will not do. I already knew that we had offers on the house before, so we were priced right on. I didn't know whether or not he would do any concession from there. But to have this guy, he's like, well, I work in the commercial space and I do this all the time. We just talk about it. And I said, no, no, no. I said, it's not real. Because what if I go back to the seller and go, hey, we're getting an offer and all they want is this. What do you think? And they say, okay, we can make that work. I go back to them. And then he's like, well, you know what? They decided to make an offer on another house because he'd already told me they had 3 that were on a list. So wouldn't you find that very disappointing, Richard?
I would be incredibly disappointed. I mean, you want all of this to work out for your benefit, and you want the people around you to be doing everything they can. And if they have to represent you to somebody who's got a different interest, that's their job.
I've had agents actually say, well, should I be bothered? Should I waste my time writing an offer? And I'm just so you know that there's electronic software, even though it's a 20-page contract, it's a form fill. It takes about 10 minutes to write an offer. And I'm like, in my mind, I would love to say this to them, but it would be offensive. I'd love to say, really, you're going to make $15,000 to $20,000 and you can't be bothered to spend 10 minutes writing a contract. You want to negotiate with me on the phone, which isn't real. Because what if another buyer comes along in the interim? And now where are we at? If I come back and say, oh, yeah, the seller will do that. Now we got this other offer, right? It has to be in writing. They all know that. They learn that in real estate 101. But it's kind of like a game. It's a strategy. And I wouldn't play. I refused. I said, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm just not. And when I did ultimately talk to the seller about it, he goes, well, I can tell you what my answer is right now. It's a hard no, So there is this expectation right now because there are fewer buyers that the buyers get a discount. But it's sort of like they're making that request in a bubble. They haven't researched what that home is actually worth. It was priced slightly below market. So one of the things I said to him is, I know it will appraise above asking price. If you have a cash problem, if your buyer has a cash problem and they need closing costs, you can go up in price. There won't be any problem. But he didn't like hearing that. He was convinced, he can obviously convince his buyer to move on, but I just don't, there is no training in the real estate industry to speak of. It's not done on a regular basis on the things that the public expect that agents actually know. Things like marketing, handling objections, closing, negotiating, servicing from contract to closing, all those things. There's no training on it. They have to figure it out. There's actually no job description to be a real estate agent. It's just a license, basically, and they all go out there and wing it. So when a seller is making, or a buyer really, is making a decision about who is going to handle one of their largest assets, there's some hard questions that they should be asking. They should be asking, tell me what you know about the market. What's going on in the market right now? I know because I look at it in detail every single week, sometimes more often. If you listen to the talking heads on the radio and YouTube and stuff like that, there has been a huge increase in prices in the last 4 years, but there's also been a huge increase in the population of home buyers out there right now. And a lot of them can't buy because it's unaffordable. So what we are seeing with the higher interest rates is more supply, less demand at this time. But if you look at how fast Trump is moving right now, I think that could change on a dime. So if you see a house out there that you like, I wouldn't hesitate, because there are some lenders that are throwing out 1% off the interest rate to make it affordable for you. But you need to talk to an agent that knows how to get you into those resources. A lot of people would like to have a very experienced real estate agent. 81% of the agents that are selling, which is only half of them in this market, sell 3 or less homes a year. That's not very good, is it, Richard?
No, and I want somebody who has been through this year after year, knows the ins and outs, the little pitfalls, the things that can go wrong, and what to do if that happens.
Right, because the buyers don't know. They're like, hey, we're qualified, we're good to go, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like I had a buyer recently that was looking at a property that was, how should I say, very rough, very, very rough. And they're getting a government loan. I'm like, this house won't qualify for that loan. The septic system doesn't work. It looks like the one bathroom is completely torn apart. And they're like, oh, they didn't know that. So I think buyers get excited about the buying process when it's time, but most agents are not trained to sit down and educate them to go, okay, these are the parameters that you're going to have to look in to get that type of loan. So I'm selling homes all the time. Sometimes they're selling over or at asking price. Some sellers are willing to give concessions. Some are not. It really depends on how long the home has been sitting on the market. But the biggest mistake that I see home sellers and buyers do is they just hire somebody because they know them without really looking at their credentials, expertise, experience. I'm not talking about years of experience. I'm talking about how many sales that they've had, how much exposure have they had to actually doing this work. And so it's good to ask the hard questions. And it's okay to, interview people. A lot of people are not very familiar with the process. They don't do it very often. So you want to have somebody guide you through the process. So it's okay to ask hard questions, because whether the seller pays the commission or the buyer pays the commission, it is expensive, but it can be rolled into the cost of the loan. However, the buyer ultimately is paying for it when they buy a house. So I think at the end of the day, they should be very careful about who they work with in the real estate world right now. And what we offer on our website is this agent selection guide. You can go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on the green button in the upper right-hand corner and look for that report. And it will help you ask the right questions so you actually, find the agent that can help you. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And we're talking about why do you need a well-qualified real estate agent when you're selling your home? Barb, some other reasons that people selling their homes need to choose a really great agent.
Well, I think if you're selling, the big thing that you need to understand is that buyers eliminate homes online. A majority of them start their search online, and you have less than a minute to make an impression. And it could be just a simple, dumb thing that's enough to make the buyer say, nope, I don't like that house. I'm moving on, grabbing another one. Little bits of clutter, pictures of pantries full of stuff, just all kinds of stuff that they most agents really don't really study marketing that much. And they're not sure how to present the home. You don't have to include every picture. You want the pictures that make the home look, really, really nice. And it is one of the largest assets. So that's why the internet exposure is absolutely critical. The other thing when you're working on the buyer side, a lot of buyers like working with us because we have over 300 homes that are up on our cash offer platform of home sellers looking to sell their home, but they don't want to do the traditional sales process and have a bunch of random people come through their house. So the buyers that sign with us actually have an opportunity to bid on those homes. So they might be able to find their dream home and not have to compete with other buyers looking at homes on Zillow and Realtor.com. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. We'd love to talk with you. We'd love for you to interview us at barbhasthebuyers.com or 719-301-3900. Richard?
Barb, tell us a little bit about your hot new listings. These are great listings. Every week you tell us about them. What do you have this week?
Oh, I'm so excited. So I have a really cool home that's actually owned by the VA, and it's on Domekite off of Northgate, very close to off of Interquest, very close to In-N-Out Burger. Beautiful, brand new place that's ready for its new buyer. A gorgeous two-story home in pristine condition in the mid-fours, close to the Air Force Academy on White Peak. A gorgeous home on Crandall Drive at 424,999. It has a finished basement very close to Fort Carson and Peterson Air Force Base, an adorable cabin on an acre and a half up and divide on Friar Tuck. This home is in perfect condition. It's the perfect getaway cabin or a place to live full time. We also have a beautiful home on Royal Troon in Pueblo. This gorgeous custom home has plenty of space. It's in pristine condition and ready for its new buyer. We also have a beautiful home on Almagre Peak, very close to the Air Force Academy and Northgate off of Voyager. Another fabulous home in Westcliff on County Road, 1201 County Road. And this home actually is spectacular. It's just a mile away from some of the most prestigious hikes down there in that mountain range. And it's only 2 years old. It has a barn, it has fencing, cross fencing, main level master. It is spectacular. We also have a gorgeous custom home up in Perry Park on Winged Foot that has amazing views of Garden of the Gods type rock formations, plus a gorgeous home on Hunter Jumper. This is a great home if somebody doesn't want a big yard, but it's in pristine condition. We have a beautiful home on Camfield Circle, which has spectacular views, and an absolutely amazing home on Sunbird Hills, priced just under 1.6 million with 5-car garage. You could actually have people live on the lower and the upper levels and spectacular views. So if you're interested in any of those homes, or any of our sneak peek properties coming up, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. Airs every Saturday, 11 to noon, right after Kudlow. And if you're thinking making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker, or you can listen to the podcast if you missed any of it. It's on platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, many, many others. Thanks for listening. And again, to reach out to Barb, 719-301-3900. Barb, great talking with you. Thanks to everybody for listening. Have a great week, Barb.
Thank you. You as well.
There you are.